Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing in partnership with sharpbetting.co.uk. Delighted as always to be joined by Paul Kelly. This is the final prediction video for the WBC World Bantamweight title fight taking place on Monday, the 24th of February between the undefeated Junto Nakatani against also the undefeated David Cuellar Contreras, taking place in Japan. Paul, good to be joined by you as always. Fights going thick and fast. Love a Japanese fight that kind of doesn't happen at kind of 11:30 on Saturday night here in the UK, something that's kind of maybe more accessible for a lot of people. Um, we'll go straight into it as always. Nakatani, really exciting fighter, destined for kind of for big things. He's facing fellow undefeated fighter, Mexican, big puncher in Contreras. Um, give us your final prediction here. What are your thoughts on this one, please?
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, mate. Yeah, love anytime Junto Nakatani fights. I think he's an exciting fighter. Hopefully, we see the all Japanese clash with Naoya Inoue at some stage. But yeah, for this one, I think you know, with being brutally honest, I think on paper you look at it and you think, oh, undefeated. Cuellar, he's young as well. I think he's what 23, 24. Big puncher. You're like, oh, this could prove a real issue for Nakatani. Then you kind of, in my opinion, that you dissect that record a little more. And he's fought quite a lot of fighters and stopped them, who maybe already have 5 or 10 defeats on their record, winning records, but quite a lot of losses on there already. Um, hasn't really been 12 either. And you look at Nakatani, and I think like he's head and shoulders above everybody else at bantamweight, in my opinion. Massive puncher as well. We've seen him stop people beginning of fights, middle of fights, and at the end of fights. I'm going for Junto Nakatani stoppage. I'm going fairly early, mate. I think this will be over within 4 rounds.
Yeah, yeah, exciting. I feel like you mentioned Inoue there, and I feel like one thing that's exciting but also frustrating with both Nakatani and Inoue is whenever they fight, they're always strong favourites to win, and it's always kind of likely it's going to end in a stoppage as well, which is exciting for fans. But yeah, it's just it can get it can maybe get a bit repetitive at some stage. But at the same time, it's fun to kind of debate when you think the fight's going to end in particular. I think another thing about Nakatani is and Inoue as well is sometimes the fight might be over in the first round, sometimes it might be over very late on. I think Nakatani had that KO of the year against Andrew Maloney a couple of years ago, which was with what, 20 seconds left of the of a 12 round fight. But he's got his fair share of stoppages early in the early in fights as well. In terms of yeah, in terms of my predictions for this one, Paul, I'm going to go a bit later than you without sounding stereotypical. I think Mexican fighters a lot of the time are very tough. It's Cuellar's big opportunity. He's kind of just been fighting in Mexico. How good he is, I don't think either of us really know. But I'm going a bit later, and I'm going for around about round six. So we will see what happens. Just want to bring up what our partners sharpbetting.co.uk are saying here. They've done some round betting, which they've highlighted. Nakatani round nine is 10-1, and Nakatani round 10 is 12-1. Later, then both of us are predicting, Paul, but if I could get you to comment on those odds, please.
Yeah, I think when you do have a fight with such an overriding favorite, as you've mentioned, like this, and similarly when Inoue fights, round betting can be your best option. Definitely, good odds there, 10-1, 12-1 for rounds 9 or 10. Where you and I are both going in the first half of the fight, as we mentioned, perhaps thinking that Cuellar Contreras may be out of his depth. But as you said, without sounding stereotypical again and reiterating your point, Mexicans tough. We've seen them cause upsets before. As you mentioned, a lot of Nakatani's fights, he has won in the second half as well. So I think when you actually look at that and you think, you know what, they're quite appetizing odds. I think when you look at rounds 9 and 10, personally, as I said, I do think the fight could be over early, but I completely see why they've outlined those as two potential avenues because he does have quite a lot of few late stoppages, as you mentioned. The Maloney one was obviously in the last round, but yeah, those championship rounds, maybe just before those championship rounds, just as maybe Cuellar's starting to get a little tired. Nakatani could take over, and I can foresee why sharp betting have outlined those odds. Definitely appealing, good odds. But as I mentioned, for me, my personal opinion, a little earlier.
Yeah, it's yeah, we'll see. I think look, I think when you've got odds of when you've got the sort of odds that are on for Nakatani to win or Nakatani just to win by stoppage, a lot of people would like a little bit more value than that. So I wouldn't blame anyone for just kind of maybe doing round betting just to kind of get some more get some more positive odds. Um, we're both in agreement, Paul, which is nice. Um, Nakatani at bantamweight, a very popular division in Japan where he's from. I've got a couple of questions for you, Paul. Are you Nakatani now 29-0, 27? So he's maybe at that age now where he's not getting on. He's not an old fighter, but he's not a young fighter either. Are you getting a little bit frustrated that we've not seen him in a unification fight yet? This is the third defense of his world title. Are you, yeah, are you getting a little bit frustrated?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it four different champions or something at bantamweight? Like, there's no excuse, in my opinion, for not having a unification by now. Let's hope that if he doesn't move up to super bantam, that he does have a unification before the end of the year. Because yeah, I mean, there might be again familiar names that some boxing fans, particularly in the UK, maybe aren't as familiar with. But they're a world champion. A couple of them are undefeated. A couple of fellow Japanese fighters, as you mentioned. There'd be massive fights in Japan. You know, if it's not Inoue, Nakatani against another Japanese world champion would surely be absolutely huge. Um, so yeah, I frustrated me. Yeah, maybe not just yet, but I think it's getting to the time where like, right now, yes, come on. We've seen you're going to potentially be 30-0 after this. You're a multi-weight world champion, but yeah, let's add a couple more belts if you unless you want to maybe move up to super bantam and chase the Inoue fight or other fights. But if not, if you're hanging about at bantam, yeah, come on, a couple more belts, Junto.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's like a cultural thing because I feel like if there were four fighters who were all world champions at the same weight in the UK, we'd be a lot of people would be abusing those people for not fighting each other. But in Japan, there doesn't seem to be the same sort of urgency. But we'll see. Nakatani's got to get through a kind of an undefeated fighter who may pose some different challenges to him on Monday, and see if he gets through to him. See what happens kind of in the see what happens post fight. But yeah, Nakatani has the potential to be one of kind of the top fighters in the world here. So you really want to see him kind of be in these big super fights in the next year or so. So fingers crossed. Paul, good to be joined by you as always. Thank you for your time, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
Cheers, mate. All the best.